you worked in leadership roles in various companies throughout the years, and in HP you were part of, I think, forming their open source program office. Were you working with open source prior to that step, or was that experience also part of your learning journey about open source still?
I created first the open source review board at HP because I wanted to bring GNOME onto HPUX. So I told you how I wanted to use GNOME, this open source user interface, instead of CDE. And it turns out it wasn't, I mean, it was a hard technical problem, but not an impossible technical problem. We had Helix Code and others to help us port it over to HPUX. But it turns out it was I'd say a legal concern for the company to make sure that as we introduced this open source code with this license that was very unknown at the time, that we didn't accidentally copyleft HPUX or, and I don't want to say endanger our customers, but do something unexpected to our customers as well. So in trying to solve that problem and convince people that what we were making sure we had adequate legal review, got to work with Scott Peterson, who was awesome. He was legal at HP. And trying to get all the right reviews and all the right people together, I ended up creating the open source review board, which then did that for a lot of other groups within HP, so we could make sure that we were using open source appropriately. And everyone was super excited at the time to work on it. Like, so Scott Peterson, the attorney, was like, this is fascinating. Like, this stuff has never had case law. Like, I mean, he just loved it. The IT group agreed to build us a custom tool with, I mean, now it might seem simple, but at the time it was a web-based where you could like say who had reviewed it and who had approved it and have comments and systems. And everyone that touched it really, really enjoyed working on it because it was something brand new.
Was this more focusing on licenses or other aspects of open source as well?
In the very beginning, the main focus was licenses, I would say, for most companies. There was kind of this concern that copyleft licenses might do unexpected things. And then on the other side, there was this concern that making sure that copyleft was strong enough to actually accomplish what they wanted in open source. And so there was a lot of debate about what the licenses meant. And then we had a lot of proliferation of like random licenses. Like, now pretty much people pick MIT or Apache or GPL, but back then people wrote their own licenses because none of them were written by attorneys. So we had like the beer license, where the license said, if you see me at a conference, please buy me a beer. And we weren't allowed to use that one because our attorneys said we might not recognize the guy at a conference, and so we might not comply with the license.
Oh, wow.
But I would say, Stormy, the proliferation is back on now, right? I mean, it's not altered open source licenses. We have all the business source licenses, and that new variant that is for the same reason, right? I mean, it was back then. It was the same reason. Organizations, fresh little companies, were trying to figure out how to get some kind of leverage or priority for their organization and some code base that they were responsible for. And so there was the attribution license, where you had to make sure that in whatever you were doing, you were going to give attribution to that company. And they all ultimately failed the open source sniff test from the OSI. And so that set of licenses was able to stay concise and compact.
I actually think the main problem is that we're using copyright law for software. Like, I actually went to the UC Boulder and took Jason Hazelmeyer's copyright law class just because I wanted to understand it better. And I don't think I don't know if there's a better tool, but it's not quite a perfect tool for software.
It's getting even worse for AI. So we're in a really weird place now.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit AI at all, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah, this is kind of becoming a recurring topic on this podcast with our conversations. I think you're, I don't know, at least the third person who we talked to recently-ish who mentions that copyright law and software is not a great match. And then yeah, sometimes we move forward and then scratch our heads on the AI related things, and we'll see where everything goes from here.
Maybe you'll have to interview one of our famous open source expert attorneys and ask them, is there something else we should have created in the beginning?
We shall do that.